The Athletic.
Hi folks, welcome to another episode of the Athletic FPL podcast. I'm Mark McGettigan. You'll find me on Twitter at FPL General. Recording this episode on Sunday evening, just after the brilliant 3-3 draw at St James's Park between Newcastle and Manchester City. Another cracking game of football on a Sunday, much like Chelsea-Tottenham last week. It's been a difficult game week for a lot of FPL managers. If you're in that boat, this episode should help to calm you down and have you feeling a lot more positive about the upcoming game weeks by the end of it, so stick with me. There's one more game to go, which is Manchester United versus Liverpool on Monday night. I somehow need Manchester United to win and captain Salah, Trent and Robertson to save my game week. On today's podcast, I'll do a quick review of Game Week 3, welcome 2 new members to the 59th Minute Club, update the watch list, answer 10 questions from Twitter, and take a look at captaincy and potential transfers for Game Week 4. It's another Saturday deadline this week. If you'd like to become an Athletic subscriber, which I highly recommend doing so, visit theathletic.com/FPL pod to avail of the latest discount offer for new subscribers. A very brief review of how Game Week 3 has gone so far. So I had 2 free transfers. I only used one. Last Tuesday night, I ended up doing Bailey to Harrison Reed before the price drop, and I rolled the second free transfer. Currently sitting on 21 points with triple Liverpool to go, including captain. So a bit of a shocker, but a lot of people have had similar scores this week. Martinelli, Jesus and Haaland were the only players in my team to score more than 2 points, and like many others, Andreas Pereira was stuck on my bench as first sub with a frustrating 8-pointer. Blanks in the team for Danny Wards, definitely getting a new goalkeeper this week. Blanks also for Reece James, Cancelo, Nico Williams, who I started over Pereira, and also Mason Mount, who is very likely on his way out the door as well. Couple of new members to the 59th Minute Club, Aaron Hickey and Matthias Jensen at Brentford. So thank you, Thomas Frank, for that double substitution. And welcome to the club, Aaron Hickey and Matthias Jensen. So already 4 members in there. Keep an eye on those clocks in Game Week 4 and on Monday night for that Liverpool game as well. On to a watch list update. Going to talk you through which players I've removed and added as usual. But this week, I do this from time to time, every couple of weeks. I'm going to run through exactly the 30 players that are on my watch list at the moment as well, in terms of defenders, midfielders and forwards. So first up, players I removed, having caught all of the highlights from the games on Saturday and Sunday. Saka is gone. I just think there's quite a few better picks at Arsenal in terms of value. There's probably 4 or 5 options, some of which I'll talk about later. You know, Saka's just not doing it at the moment, so not looking to bring him in anytime soon. I've got Martinelli, I've got Jesus. If I'm to buy a third one, it's more likely to be a defensive asset than Saka at the moment. Heung-min Son at Tottenham is also gone from the watch list. 3 blanks in a row, cost about 12 million, just not doing enough. Just doesn't seem to be on it just yet this season, so not looking to go there. If I was to go back to a Tottenham attacker, looks like Kulusevski or Harry Kane over Son. Neto at Wolves is also gone. Removed some of his teammates last week, the likes of Podence as well. Neto, again, I think got about 70 minutes in Game Week 3, so no attacking returns, getting taken off early, so just not an option either. Jared Bowen, lot of talk about him going into the season, had such a good season last year. West Ham just not at the races yet either, and like Son, it's 3 blanks in a row for Bowen, so there is better options out there than the West Ham man. At Newcastle and Leicester, I've removed Willock and I've removed Dewsbury Hall. Now, these were 2 players only really on the watch list because I was quite keen on a Bailey replacement last week. In the end, I didn't bother with a straight swap for a 5 million, dropped down to 4.5. So Willock and Dewsbury Hall are no longer in my thoughts. Although Willock, I think he could become an option at some point this season. But again, at Newcastle, you've got Callum Wilson, you've got Saint-Maximin, you've got quite a few good attacking options there. Players added to the watch list following Game Week 3. two more Arsenal players. There's quite a few on the watch list now. Odegaard's got his brace, really good performance, quiet in Game Week 1 and Game Week 2 in terms of FPL points, but we know how good this guy is. Arsenal captain for the season, should tick along nicely in terms of points. I said I'd be open to getting a Arsenal defensive asset. I'm not against getting a third attacker either, and Odegaard at about 6.5 million looks pretty good. Here's an interesting one. Didn't think he would be added to the watch list ever. Granit Xhaka. He has caught the eye in the opening game weeks because he's playing a slightly different role since Zinchenko's come in. What you tend to see happening, Zinchenko moves into Xhaka's role, which gives Xhaka the freedom to get forward. He gets into good positions. He's getting in the box. He's getting shots away. I think there will be attacking returns there if he continues to, stay in the 11, and if Arsenal continue to play the same way. Now, I'm not saying go and buy Xhaka. I've seen a few people do it this week and they got some points, so well done. But again, the issue with Xhaka is there's probably 4 or 5 better FPL picks in the Arsenal team, but he is a good option himself. He's only 5 million. So yeah, interesting one there. Again, you've got to kind of forget about the Xhaka that we've seen for previous seasons. On recent evidence, he looks like a pretty good FPL pick. Trossard's and McAllister, 2 more Brighton players added to the watch list as well. Trossard got his goal. He was very impressive when I watched him in Game Week 1. McAllister on penalties. We were hoping it would be Pascal Gross. So now we've probably got 3 pretty good FPL options in the Brighton midfield. We've got Trossard, we've got Gross, and we've got McAllister if he's going to be taking the penalties. St. Maximin is added to the watch list following his hat-trick of assists. Always a fun pick. Watched the Wolves game yesterday. Very impressed with Guedes, the new sign-in. Got lots of shots away. So Neto's gone from the watch list and Guedes has been added. So we're going to keep a close eye on him. Final player added is a forward, Brennan Johnson at Nottingham Forest. Took his goal really well. He's dropped down, I think, to 5.9 million. So again, one for the watch list, one to keep an eye on. So just a quick run through of the players on the watch list at the moment. The order of players here is based on price, nothing else. So defenders, Perisic, Zinchenko and Saliba. So Zinchenko and Saliba both Arsenal picks. Walker, Cucurella, Trippier and Dunk. Lots and lots of midfielders. I've actually grouped these by price, but also I've just grouped if there's 3 players on the same team, I'm just going to mention them all together. So at Man City, De Bruyne, Gundogan and Foden, 3 very good options in midfield. Luis Diaz, Kulusevski, James Maddison, Wilfried Zaha has had a very good start to the season. Then you've got the 3 Brighton guys, Trossard, Gross and McAllister, Odegaard and Xhaka at Arsenal, St. Maximin, Rodrigo and Aronson at Leeds. Lots of talk about Rodrigo this week, and no surprise, he's got 4 goals for the season, top goal scorer in the Premier League, and looks a really good FPL pick. More about him later. Aronson's got his first goal as well, also looks a good option at about 5.5. Making up the midfielders is Guedes and Da Silva at Brentford. 6 forwards on the watch list: Harry Kane, Callum Wilson, Ivan Toney, Alexander Mitrovic, Danny Welbeck and Brennan Johnson. So that gives you an idea of the player pool that I'm looking at the moment when it comes to making my transfers on a Friday night. Time to tackle some Twitter questions now. Over 100 questions sent in on Sunday evening. I've picked out 10 of the best, which should cover all of the hot topics going into Game Week 4. First one is from Paul Goldsmith. What conditions need to be met for wildcard activation? So I think a lot of people will be tempted to wildcard this week. I was tempted last week. I'm probably even more tempted this week because you'll always find if you have a terrible game week, you feel like you automatically need to jump in and try and fix things. But just because you've had a bad game week, it doesn't necessarily mean things are broken. Bad game weeks are just part of every season. They will hit you at every point, at some point in every season. The key is how you react to them. You've got to stay calm. You can't overreact. You had a good team on paper going into the game week, and just because they're sitting on 21 points with 1 game to go doesn't mean you need to rip up your team. For example, if I look at my team for Game Week 4, I think 10 out of 11 are playing at home. If I get a new goalkeeper, I could have 11 players playing at home, for example. So don't overreact. In terms of the question, what conditions need to be met for wildcard activation? I think you've got to remember there is only 3 game weeks gone, so we still don't have a lot of information. We've got game week 4 coming up, then game week 5 is midweek, and then game week 6 is the weekend after. So we've got 3 game weeks over 7 days, and then we've got Champions League kicking in, Europa League. There could be an awful lot of rotation this season, so there's a lot of unknowns just yet. So I still like the idea of holding off on the wildcard until we get a little bit of information, mainly about the rotation within the Champions League teams in those first, 1 or 2 group stage matches. So your team really needs to be quite far away from where you want it to be to wildcard, I think, going into game week 4. Let's say you've only got 1 free transfer this week. If you've got 4 or 5 major issues and you've got, let's say, 3 or 4 really important assets that you think you need to own, then you can go for it. Like I said in previous episodes, it's never too early to wildcard this season because you have the unlimited transfers for game week 17. So don't take advice from others. Don't read too much about when to wildcard, when not to wildcard. Just sit down with your own team, look at the targets that you want to get. Focus on fixtures. If you've still got 10 or 11 players with good fixtures this week, maybe you don't need to rush it. But yeah, I certainly wouldn't be looking to take big hits, which brings me on to the second question from FPL Showroom. What's your opinion on -8s at this stage of the season? So those who've been following me for a few seasons, you'll know I don't take too many hits at all. Last season, I didn't take any -8s. I took a few -4s, probably about 7 or 8 over the course of the season, but I never got to a stage of taking a -8. I just always think it's so hard to get points in FPL, as a lot of managers have seen this week. I'm always quite reluctant to give them back, especially if it's a -8 or a -12. In my head, a -12 it's 3 goals from your strikers, so we know how hard it is to get those. -8s going into game week 4, I think if I was tinkering and I felt like I needed to make 3 or 4 transfers and I was looking at a -8 or a -12, then I think I would just press the wildcard button. Again, just give yourself that reset and don't go into game week 4, 8 or 12 points down. Now, there is certain scenarios where a -8 and keeping your wildcard a little bit longer will probably look good as well. And it's often quite a hard decision. Do I -8 or do I wildcard? But for me, personally, over the years, not too keen on -8s, so I probably would hit the wildcard button in that scenario. Question from Simon Ashby. There will be a lot of people whose rank is around 2 to 3 million. Is it still possible to have a good season from that kind of start? Absolutely yes. Now, it's not just managers who are at 2 or 3 million. There's plenty of managers out there that are going to be 5, 6, 7 million right now. And you've got to keep reminding yourself, it's game week 3. It's the 21st of August. It's extremely early in the season. It's very easy to beat yourself up and get frustrated by the game. I found myself getting frustrated over the last week or two. Obviously haven't had a fantastic start, but I keep coming back to that. It's August. It's game week 3. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Stay calm. The points will come. The green arrows will come. If you've had a bad start, you're setting yourself a challenge. You haven't had the best start, but just enjoy the ride then. There's going to be green arrow after green arrow, and you can build up a lot of momentum. So my scenario, as an example for people, I am currently, before the Liverpool-Man United game, 3.5 million overall, and I'm not worried whatsoever. I think my game week rank this week so far is 8.8 million. There's only about 9 million players, so it couldn't have gone much worse so far. But on the flip side of that, I had a quick look. I don't use livefpl.net too much. It's a fantastic website, but I try not to look at effective ownership and all that kind of stuff, and I don't look at my live rank during the game week anymore. But for this question, I thought I'd go and have a look. They've got a great feature. It's called a what if feature. It's probably the only reason I'm going to use the website this season, because it always makes me feel better if you're having a bad game week. I'm 3.5 million right now on Sunday night, but I plugged into the what if machine. What if Salah gets a goal, an assist and 3 bonus, which would be 14 points, 28 points as captain? And what if Trent and Robertson get a clean sheet against Manchester United? Let's say Trent and Robertson just get 6 points each and Salah gets 28 as captain. That would put me from 3.5 million on Sunday night to bang on 1 million rank on Monday night. So it just shows you, in one game with 3 players, including a captain, you can chalk off 2.5 million in rank. That just shows you how tight things are in this early part of the season. So stay calm, don't panic, don't overreact, Don't press a wildcard just because you've had a bad game week. Yes, there will be squads this week where a wildcard is viable and it's probably the right decision, but take some time. You don't need to activate it on Monday or Tuesday. Give yourself some time to mull it over. Question from John Townsend. What can we learn for the rest of the season from the rush to jump off Bailey due to a price drop, and then he goes and starts and gets an assist? So Bailey's probably not the best example here, but there will be times where you sell a player because they're underperforming and they go out the next week and they bang in a goal or they bang in an assist. It's just the way FPL works. But I think the thing I've always tried to do is just give players time. I did it with Mason Mount this week. Game week 3, kept him. It didn't work, obviously. I was watching the highlights earlier. He did have a decent chance. He almost scored. But it's probably a 3 or 4 game week span I give players. Mount's probably going to go this week. I've given him 3 game weeks. I could give him another one, but I've got other fires to fight, and Mount's quite an easy way to free up some cash. So I always try and keep 3 or 4 game weeks in my head. Usually when I buy a player, it's based on fixtures, and usually they'll have 3 or 4 good fixtures anyway. So I try and ride that out before I jump off. The Bailey example was, yes, he got an assist. Yes, he started. Yes, it was annoying. But before the game week started, it was absolutely the right decision to let him go, because we couldn't say for sure that he was going to start, because he didn't start in game week 2. And he did come off early anyway in this game, even though he got the assist. So yeah, players like Bailey, if they're not sure of starts and they're getting early substitutions, it's always absolutely fine to sell them. Mason Mount's probably a better example there. Question from Heavy Metal FPL. Who are the best goalkeeper upgrades for those selling Everson this week? And Heavy Metal mentioned Sanchez or Raya. So I'm going to throw in a few other options here, because I am 100% getting a new goalkeeper this week. It was one of the reasons I rolled my second transfer last week. I freed up 0.5, so I could do Everson to Raya or Sanchez now, and I've still got another free transfer to use as well. So obviously, if you're on the Ward Everson double up, you keep Ward because he's playing games, and you sell Everson, and then you just put Ward on your bench. Had a look at some expected goals conceded numbers. I like to use this for goalkeepers and defenders. It's a very small sample size, but it does give us an idea of how the first few weeks have gone for these defences. So Sanchez and Brighton, they've got the 3rd best expected goals conceded in the league so far with 2.49. And in terms of Raya, Brentford are 15th for expected goals conceded with 4.08. So on that metric, that would suggest that Sanchez is the better pick as your goalkeeper. Brighton and Brentford have got quite similar fixtures up until about game week 8, when I think a lot of people will wildcard. So I'm going to just slightly side towards Sanchez on what we've seen in the first 3 game weeks of the season. I think Brighton have been more impressive than Brentford. I think both teams have been impressive in certain games, but I think overall I've been very impressed with Brighton, so I think I'm going to lean towards him. But that's only if you're going for a 4.5 option, because I think there's other options worth considering as well if you've got a bit of cash. Ramsdale at 5. I've only got 2 Arsenal assets, so I'm quite keen on Ramsdale. I think Nick Pope is another option. Newcastle have got decent fixtures as well, and we know historically himself and Ramsdale are perfectly designed to be good FPL point scorers in terms of bonus and stuff like that. And I still like Ederson. Yes, they conceded 3 to Newcastle. I think there's a good chance that might just be a blip in the road, and they'll go back to keeping regular clean sheets after that. So yeah, Ramsdale, Pope, Ederson, Sanchez and Raya are probably the 5 under consideration for me. I'll probably go Sanchez if I go 4-5. I'll probably go Ramsdale if I'm going for a 5. And then I just need to decide whether it's worth spending the extra on Ederson. Arsenal actually have the best expected goals conceded in the league so far as well. So that's another tick for Ramsdale. Question from Viljar. Are Chelsea too shaky at the back for a defensive double up? James and Cucurella are also playing centre back at times as well. Are the likes of Trippier and Perisic better options? Yeah, I think it was clear to see. I think when you see Chelsea losing 3-0 to Leeds, you straight away think, right, I don't want to have double Chelsea defence here. Kante is a huge miss. Kovacic is also a huge miss. Koulibaly is going to have probably a 1-game ban now after his red card as well. So I've got Reece James, and I'm certainly not in a rush to get a second one. I talked Cucurella up last week, but that changes now once they've conceded 3 goals to Leeds. So Reece James, I'm probably going to keep him because I've got other issues, and I'm not looking to double up. If you are on the double up, it's probably okay to keep because they do have good fixtures and you just hope they improve. But if you don't have other issues, I don't mind selling one of James or Cucurella either. It is frustrating to see James playing right centre-back with Loftus-Cheek, of all people, playing right wing-back. So hopefully that changes in the near future as well. Viljar did mention Trippier and Perisic. Are they better options? I'm not going to go out and say Trippier is a better option than James just yet, but he's had a very good start to the season, got the 2 clean sheets, scored a cracking free kick against City. So that's one difficult fixture out of the way as well for Trippier. I know a lot of people benched him this week or sold him. Don't beat yourself up about that either. That was perfectly justified given the fixtures coming up with City and Liverpool. But Trippier, now that he's got the City one out of the way, he's in my thoughts. If I sell Mason Mount, it frees up cash to get myself a new goalkeeper. If I went for someone like Rodrigo, I could upgrade Nico Williams and go 5 at the back. So players like Trippier and Perisic are definitely in my thoughts this week when it comes to transfers. Perisic, fantastic. Well done if you had him. Yes, he was frustrating Game Week 1 and Game Week 2, but you're rewarded if you kept him for Game Week 3 or you brought him in for Game Week 3. Question is fitness and rotation. Now the Champions League is kicking in soon, but I think he's that good as an FPL prospect that we probably just need to go there and just take the benchings on the chin. Other options from Trippier or Perisic, if you want something else, like I said, get yourself an Arsenal defender or get yourself a Manchester City one. I still think Walker is a good pick at a cheap price as well. Question from Sebastian Bale. Best replacement for Mason Mount. Do we go straight for another 8 million mids, or should we look to someone like Rodrigo and upgrade in other positions? So yeah, this is what I'm leaning towards. I'm leaning towards selling Mount. Now these are my early thoughts on a Sunday night, so I need to process a lot of information before I make my moves on Friday. But early thoughts are probably Mount out for Rodrigo because he's smashing it, and I like Leeds' fixtures for the next couple of weeks as well. And by going Mount to Rodrigo, you might even have a better FPL asset, but you've also got, almost 2 million to spend elsewhere, so I can fix my goalkeeper. And if I take a -4, I could get a better defender in for Nico Williams as well. So it depends on your team. If you don't have as many problems as I do, for example, if you've got a good goalkeeper, you could just switch Mount for a Luis Diaz. If Luis Diaz does well against Manchester United, I think an awful lot of people are going to bring him in. That even might trigger wildcards for people if Diaz outperforms Robertson again. Martinelli, again, if you don't have him, go there first. Kulusevski, still like him as an option. Maddison's been ticking along, attacking returns in every game week. I just find it quite hard to trust Leicester at the moment overall, which is why I've got slight concerns about going for Maddison. Foden's an option. Gundogan, then you're getting a little bit cheaper. Wilfred Zaha, he's got Manchester City next. But if Newcastle scored 3, surely Zaha can get on the score sheet there as well, and they've got good fixtures after that. But yeah, I'm leaning towards Rodrigo or someone like that in that price bracket, and then upgrading other positions. Question from Ollie. For those of us who have gone big at the back, is the dream over? Absolutely not. Again, it's 3 game weeks, and it's 1 game week really. A lot of people are downbeat about big at the back because of how game week 3 has gone. We still haven't had the Liverpool game. If Trent and Robbo get clean sheets in that one, that might make people think a little bit differently. I still think there's lots and lots of very good, affordable premium defenders out there. I've currently got 4 premium defenders, and I've got Nico Williams. And even though big at the back didn't go very well for a lot of people in game week 3, I'm open to the idea of going big at the back game week 4 by selling Nico Williams for a Perisic or a Trippier or an Arsenal defender or something like that. So no, big at the back, I would stick with it for now. Question from Mark. What to do with Son? Mark is thinking of going straight to De Bruyne, but Spurs still have a good run of fixtures despite him being off form. Yeah, Son just doesn't look right to me, so I would be looking to sell. And I think De Bruyne is the ideal replacement. Looking at fixtures, Tottenham have Nottingham Forest, West Ham, Fulham, next 3, while City have Crystal Palace, Nottingham Forest and Aston Villa. So pretty similar there, but obviously Manchester City the better team, and De Bruyne is looking on it at the moment, while Son isn't. So I prefer De Bruyne to Son, so I would probably make that switch. But again, you probably got to make sure you don't have other bigger issues to deal with first. Final question for this week is from Loyal. Is it time to go for a third forward? And he mentions Ivan Toney, Mitrovic and Welbeck. Yeah, I'm going to throw Callum Wilson in here as well. Although there was comments, I think, after the game that Wilson came off early, and I think there was concerns about his hamstring at half-time, so that's one to keep an eye on if you're thinking about buying. Look out for comments on Friday in Eddie Howe's press conference. I think 3 forwards is perfectly viable. A lot of people have Haaland or Kane plus Jesus, and there's certainly scope for a third forward. Those players mentioned, Tony looks great, Mitrovic looks great. Welbeck's had a good start to the season. I still much prefer Tony or Mitrovic though. And Wilson, if he's okay for game week 4, I like him as well. So yeah, I think if I was wildcarding this week, I'd be building a couple of drafts that have 3 forwards, and I think they'd probably feel pretty good. It's the way my squad's set up at the moment, and a lot of people, if you've got a 4.5 million forward, it's quite hard to get to a third forward, which is quite frustrating in a way, because I would love to get a Tony or a Mitrovic this week. So I might look at that later in the week to see if I can get there without using that wild card. Game week 4 captaincy now. I think the prime candidates are Salah at home to Bournemouth. Haaland and Kevin De Bruyne are at home to Crystal Palace. Jesus has a home game against Fulham, so lots of the big teams and the big assets have home games this week. And then you've got Kane away to Nottingham Forest. I'm not going to include Son this week because I think Kane is the better option at the moment. So for me, before I've seen what Salah does against Manchester United, I've placed the armband on him for the Bournemouth fixture, because I just think Bournemouth is the best fixture of all those that I mentioned. I watched Bournemouth against Arsenal, and Arsenal were just in complete control for 90 minutes. So I expect Salah and Liverpool to do the same in game week 4. So Salah captain for me, but I'll give it more thought later in the week. In terms of early transfer thoughts, I kind of mentioned it earlier. I've got 2 free transfers. My notes here say I'm not happy with the team at the moment. I need a new goalkeeper this week. Pope and Ramsdale are options if I don't go for a 4.5. I don't love having to start one of Pereira or Nico Williams at the moment, so I want to try and address that this week as well. I want to make my 11th man stronger, so I don't have to start Nico or Pereira each week. Patience with Mason Mount is running out. He's probably going to go. The wildcard temptation is there again this week, but with 2 frees and maybe -4, the squad will be looking much healthier. So I could do something like Everson, Nico Williams and Mason Mount to a new goalkeeper, Perisic and Rodrigo for a -4. And straight away, my team will look so much better. So I feel calmer having looked at it tonight. Not going to wildcard this week. I'd say there's a 0 chance I wildcard this week unless there's major injuries or something like that during the week. I think there is a lot of League Cup games this week. I think there's about 15 Premier League teams in action. West Ham are playing in Europe. I think Man City are playing a friendly in Barcelona for some reason. So again, probably is about time we started to be a bit more patient with our transfers, because there's a lot happening during the week which could change our thoughts before the weekend. Have a good week, folks, and I'll talk to you again on Friday with another episode after the press conferences. If you'd like to hear more from me in the meantime, visit patreon.com/FPL General, where you'll get eye test podcasts for every game I watch, a Thursday night live stream, and a team reveal before the deadline. Thank you for listening.
The Athletic.